Now we can start.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Dhyanam Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratita Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrutavashini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvanusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini.
Please keep your eyes closed. We'll just take a few moments to center ourselves in the current moment. We have all come from different backgrounds, different things. We need to center ourselves for next 1 hour, and for that, just relax. Take your attention to your feet. Relax. To your legs. Relax. To your thighs. Relax. To your hips. Relax. Take the attention to your back. Make sure it is erect, comfortably seated against a chair or a wall. And your back should also be relaxed. To your shoulders, relax them. They are generally very stressed. Take a moment to see if you have relaxed your shoulders. To your neck, relax. Back of your head, relax. Top of your head, relax. To your forehead, your eyebrows, relax. Make sure your eyes are relaxed. Your teeth and your tongue, relax. Take the attention to your throat, relax. To your chest, relax. See if you can observe your heartbeat. You can if you are completely relaxed. Feel your heartbeat. Take the attention to your stomach. Relax. Gently observe their stomach going in and going out while you breathe. Attention back to your legs and your feet completely relaxed. Now scan the body and make sure that each and every part of your body is completely relaxed. Gently take the awareness to your breath. Simply observe your breath for a few moments. This moment is yours, should not be disturbed by any thoughts. Observe your breath. Now slowly take the attention to the place in between your eyebrows, a place where you put bindi or a tilak, that is called Agya Chakra. We are going to activate that now. Attention in between your eyebrows, If you're completely relaxed and you're focused in between eyebrows, you will feel a tingling sensation. Allow it to be there. Tension to your eyebrows, center. Slowly take your attention back to your breath. Simply observe your breath. Your head may continue to have the sensation. Slowly start moving your fingers. Be aware of that. Rub your palms and put it gently on your eyes in a cup format. Make sure that your energy is retained. Slowly open your eyes. So let's start with our today's presentation. Request Devesh to take it forward from here.
Yeah. Thank you, Vedant, and thank you, everyone. Am I audible? Excellent. So I will start with salutations to gurus and Guru Parampara, including starting with Vedant, everyone in the group, and gurus whom I listen to or read about. Couple of them I have put the photos of Swami Paramatmananda from Chinmay Mission and Professor Vishnukant Shastri, whose commentary on Gita I usually read. So salutations, and whatever I'm going to say is directly from them, nothing from my side for sure. Go to the next slide. So how I have planned is maybe I'll start with the very beginning in the sense that a bit of recap from what Bidan mentioned in the last class, and go to the context and then come to my assigned shlok. So what we say here is a very famous lines on Bhagwat Gita, which goes like Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. So Gita, for whom Gita has been said, it's is it just between Bhagwan Sri Krishna and Arjun, or is it has a wider reach? And when we end all the adhyayas or the chapters, it ends at Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastri. So it is about the learnings from the Upanishads. It is the Brahma Gyan, Brahma Vidya, and that's how it's been said that the essence of all the Upanishads are in Bhagavad Gita. So the essence of all Upanishads is like cow and Krishna, who was a gwala, right? Who was a milk person, right? He milks the essence of all the Upanishads and cows. And how that milk came when a calf comes near to a cow and tries to drink milk. So Arjun is the calf, and but whom the milk usually caters to is all the Sudhir Bhokta, which is one who wants to learn about that nectar, about that milk, which is all the people who, like us, who have just started on this journey, and we benefit from the essence of Upanishads through Sri Krishna and Arjun, and blessed to have this for us. And how is Brahma Vidya different from any other Vidya? So for any other knowledge or Vidya, there has to be three things. One is the object for which I need to know. Second is the knowledge, and third is the person who wants to attain that knowledge. So those three things are separate from each other. But for Brahma Vidya, it is the Vidya where the knowledge, the knower, and the thing to be known, they all kind of finally merge into each other. So, and when can that happen? And that happens when what Vidhan mentioned in the last class, the rope and the snake analogy, is that you just have to know it. It is already there. It is just that we don't know that it is one and the same. Just like uh, as an example, Karn, he was called Radhe because he always knew that he's son of Radha. But what it took for Karn to be known as Konte or son of Kunti, he just has to know it because he was always Konte. Similarly, the snake was not there at all. It was just our perception. And what we needed to know that it's not a snake and a rope, we just have to know it. And when you know it, it was that only. So that's where this Brahma Gyan or the Brahma Vidya is different from any other knowledge. So that's kind of a way into the ultimate Gyan, what we call or the Brahma Gyan is that we just need to know it and feel it and observe it all around us and try to inculcate it in among us. Can we go back to the next slide, please, Vedant? Right. So a very quick recap of the key objectives or what were the Arjun's main Vishad as again a quick recap is that Arjun thinks that he's going to kill his opponents. So he was not aware of the Atma Tattva. He was in doubt that shall I fight my Gurujans or the Swajan? The word Swa is mine, is where the moh arises or the attachment arises. And he thinks that how he's going to enjoy the kingdom when there's nobody else with him to enjoy that, which tells that he was not fully aware of what a swadharma of a king is. Is it to not to look at the subjects or to protect the dharma? So the knowledge of the Atma Tattva, the removal of moh, and the inspiration to carry out one's swadharma is what Arjun had, and that's kind of the base of all the issues or the doubts we may have in our daily life and as we go along. And the best thing he did was that he surrendered, whom he said that is to God. He surrendered it to Sri Krishna, and that's where Gita starts. So it starts with Sharanagati and it ends with Sharanagati. And the beauty of chapter 2 is that it's the seed chapter in a sense that it has the essence of the entire Gita. And why so is because initially, as we heard in the last class, that Sri Krishna first says very harsh words to Arjun to see whether his doubts and his moh is shallow or is it quite deep rooted. And when he realizes that it is quite deep rooted, he starts with the ultimate truth or what the key thing he should know about. So he presented the objective or the essence of Brahma Vidya in chapter 2, and then he elaborates it as we go along to various chapters. And that's a hallmark of a great teacher is that he brings about the essence very at the very beginning, elaborates it so that, and then recaps it in the end to make sure that the entire information is digested by Arjun, and as we go along, his all the doubts are removed. So we go to the next one, Ananda. Yeah. So now coming to where we left is that Bhagwan starts with the Param Gyan or the Brahma Gyan, where he talks about the first mo that he's going to kill somebody or somebody is going to get killed. And in that essence, Sri Krishna talks about the immortality of the Atman or the consciousness, which is ever pervading. It's unborn. It cannot be destroyed. So in that context, this shloka comes. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. So if we break it into its component words, so Ved is the knowledge, avinashi. So now the knowledge that the Atman or the self is avinashi means it's imperishable. Nityam is eternal. It was there, it is now, and it will always be there. Ajanma is unborn. Avyayam, immutable. And the person who knows this, how can that person who has the knowledge that the Atma is avinashi, imperishable, eternal, unborn, and immutable, causes somebody to kill anyone, or he himself can kill anyone? So if we combine it, becomes what's there in the slide is that, O Parth, how can one who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So it's not possible because of the way the consciousness is. It's not worldly. So anything which is nitya, which has always been there, which has never been born, how can that be destroyed or killed? And I can again quote one of the things which I think I alluded to in one of the previous sessions, is that within us, like no one has no one has an experience of life or death. When we are born, we don't know. We never have that experience. And if somebody dies, we have never have an experience of death as well. So what does it mean? Does it mean that yeah, because why is it so? Because we were always there in a sense, and we can never have the experience of life, of being born, or of death. So something to maybe ponder upon and see why, and if we dig deeper into it, probably we'll come to the conclusion that yes, we were always there and we will always be there. Go to the next slide, Vedant. Yeah. So that's where I think I would now hand over to the next presenter. Is that it's all about the knowledge of the Atman, the instruction that it cannot be destroyed, it pervades everywhere, and if you know this, then you should not be worried about that you're going to kill someone or you are going to be a cause of a death of the self. Yeah, back to you, Vedant. Thank you.
A small request. Varsha is supposed to do the verse number 22, Vasam Sijirnani, which is also a very important verse. She's just reaching home in 2 minutes. Can Ridhima take up verse number 23? Varsha will do verse number 22 after that.
Yes,
Yeah,
that will be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Ridhima, will you take up 23? Ridhima, are you there?
Hi, yes.
Yeah. Varsha is reaching home in 5 minutes. Can you take up 23? Then she'll do the 22 one.
Sure, I can. Just a minute.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ridhima.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah. So first, with the salutations to our gurus and the Guru Parampara. Here I have also included Swami Paramatmananda ji and Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji, whose text I usually go through and listens to. So let's go ahead to the slide. Yes, so today I will be taking up the verse 23. So first I will be reciting it. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. So in this verse, as we all know, since we are on Sankhya Yoga, that is the chapter 2, it is all about, it is the knowledge related to Atma or the soul. That is the Atma Gyan. So in this Sankhya Yoga, we are learning the teachings, the Lord Krishna, when Arjun is in the dilemma that how he can, kill his own near and dear ones. Right? He is in a situation where he is not able to accept the fact that he's going to, just shoot arrows to the ones who are really worthy of his prayers. So there, he's unable to cope with the situation where Lord Krishna imparts the divine knowledge to Arjun, and he begins with the immortal nature of the soul, which is eternal and imperishable. So in this verse, what Lord Krishna is emphasizing on is that it is only the material body which is perishable, but the embodied soul within it is indestructible, immeasurable, and is eternal. Now we will go word by word explanation of this verse in the next slide. Yeah. So na enam. So here we are talking about that this soul, it cannot be cut into pieces by the weapons, that is the shastrani. So here when we talk about the weapons, it is basically the prithvi. Here we are taking up the 5 elements, so how they are going, how they destroy the body. So what we say, the nature of self is indestructible and is unaffected by the 5 elements. So the soul, it cannot be cut into pieces by the weapons, nor it can be, nor the fire can burn it, and even the water, it cannot just drown the soul, and even the wind cannot dry it. So what we basically say here is that weapons, it is very well known that we can, cut anything with the weapons, right? But neither can one wound water, fire, air, or space, as no instrument can destroy an element which is subtler than itself. So here, the soul, it is the most subtlest of everything. So no weapon can destroy the soul. Fire cannot burn it. Fire generally can burn things but not the fire itself. The burning capacity of fire is the very essence. So the fire cannot burn its own essence. Wherever there is fire, it can consume things only in space, but yet being in space, space can never be consumed by fire. So things are consumed by fire in space. So if space itself cannot be consumed by fire, then how, which is the most subtlest form, then you can also be consumed by the fire. The next thing what we talk about the soul is that even the water cannot moisten it. As we all know, whenever something we put in water, it gets soaked only when there is the interspace, they're in themselves. So, for example, a piece of bread, when it is soaked in water or milk, it can easily get soaked because there is a space where the molecules of water can get absorbed and get soaked inside. But a piece of iron, if you take, it cannot be soaked in water as iron has no interspace in it. So what here we actually mean to say is when the substance is one homogeneous mass containing nothing other than itself, the water cannot enter that substance. Similarly, the soul is that element where even the water cannot wet it. Now, the next thing is wind even cannot dry the soul. So when we talk about the wind it is basically, we are talking about the dehydration. The dehydration is possible only when there are some traces of water in the substance which is being dehydrated. For example, every crystal has its own water of crystallization, which when removed causes the crystals to lose their distinct shape and form and gets converted into a fine powder. In the same way, the supreme consciousness, it contains nothing other than itself. Hence, the soul, it cannot, the annihilation of the soul, it cannot happen through the process of dehydration as well. So, in this verse, what we mean to say is that this soul, which resides inside the body, it is non-destructible. Even the weapons cannot cut it into pieces. Neither the fire can burn it, nor water can wet it, and not even the wind can dry it. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So from this verse, the key learnings which we come across is the unseen is always explained in terms of seen. Here, when we talk about the unseen, that is the Atma, the soul, the spirit, and the seen is body, matter, which we can see. So why we have done this comparison here is because the changeless, immutable self is being described by Lord Krishna in terms of the mutable and ever-changing world, which is very familiar to all of us. So in this case, whenever we are talking about unknown, right? And when we, talk about the unknown with context to something which is known to us, then we are able to understand, able to indicate what it means. But when this unknown, it is just merely defined, like just in a just self-explanatory way, then this unknown remains unknown as usual. So that's why we are relating this unseen Atma with the seen, which is body, matter. Next is in this world of change, objects come to their annihilation through instruments of death. So here when we are talking about the instruments of death, those are the four elements, that is Prithvi, Agni, Jal, Vayu. So these are the various cosmic means and methods by which the objects of the world, they come to their destruction. That is, Either they are consumed by fire, destroyed by water, or dried up by air. But all these means are declared impotent in bringing about the destruction of self. So these four elements are not even able to destroy the self, the soul which resides in this body. So the next is, the principle here is that no instrument can destroy an element subtler than itself. That is, this gross, which is the stool sharira, it cannot grasp the subtle. It is only the subtle, sukshma, which can grasp the gross. So what here we mean to say is that sukshma can understand sthul, but sthul cannot understand the sukshma. Self remains unaffected by these five elements. In that, like you can see that I have spoken about the four elements, but I have not taken here space, the element space. Why? Because in that space itself is unaffected. The space, it cannot be cut, it cannot be wet, it cannot be dried or burnt. It is, if we talk about the more subtler thing than the space is the mind, and still subtler than the mind is our consciousness. Therefore, this consciousness, Atman, the self, the very cause of the subtlest element, space, it cannot be destroyed by any of these gross instruments. So in this verse, basically, we are explaining that how a soul is eternal, is non-destructible, and it is ever-pervading. You cannot destroy it with any of the instruments or any of the four elements in this world. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. So what exactly, after going through this verse, is the nature of the self is? The self is nitya, that is eternal. It is sargata, it is present everywhere. It is all pervading, right? So sthanu, which stands like pillar and is unaffected by time. It was always there, it is there, and it will always remain there. Even when the body gets destroyed, the soul, it changes the body and goes from one body to another. Similarly, as as we change clothes, and similarly, the soul, it moves from one body to another at the time of death. So it is achala, it is not moving. It is sanatan, means it's nitya nutan, which is valuable like eternal values of life. In Satyug also, people, they used to try to realize this self. And in Kalyug also, we know that only after getting to know about the self, we can attain the moksha. This soul is avyakta, it is unmanifested, which cannot be even known through our senses, and it is achintya. It cannot be thought, or it is unimaginable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ridhima.
Thank you, Ridhima, for accommodating.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ridhima. And so sorry to everyone because then you had to skip verse number 22. So I'll be taking up the prequel of what Ridhima has just spoken. So for the shloka, Ajit, can you help me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय
जीर्णानि
नन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Thank you, Ajit. So this verse, Krishna is explaining Arjuna that what is the analogy of Atma, and he's talking about, he's trying to make this understand through Punarjanma and Maranam. So it's a very important verse, because this is one of the famous analogy I think we have heard or understood Atman about. Yeah. So it goes like this. So he's talking about Punarjanma and Marana. So he says what happens basically at the time of death and rebirth. So he explained this process with an example of how we wear our clothes and take it off. So he's saying that how we dress up for to cover our bodies, and when the time requires, when the purpose of that cloth is over, we have to change that. So we have different occasions, and for each occasion we wear the clothing. So suppose for the morning puja we'll wear something, and for our workplace we have a different formal clothing. Similarly, when we come back home, then we have to go out, and then there's a different clothing, and for sleeping time, for bedtime, there is another kind of clothing. So as per the purpose, we change our clothing. So and when we change our clothing, we disappear from anyone's eyes and mind. We go to a green room and change our clothing, and then come back. So similarly, we are born in this body, and we so as the dressing is there, we wear the body, as in the Atma. If the Atma equivalent is the body, and the clothing is, sorry, the Atma, so Atma is equivalent to the physical body. Then the body is equivalent to the clothing, from that example. So, so our Atma takes the body for a purpose that we have to fulfill in this lifetime. And once that purpose is fulfilled, we have generated our karma or whatever, or finished our karmas, and the body is no longer able to work or function or be helpful to fulfill the karmas, then we leave the body. So when we leave the body, what happens? So when we're leaving the body, same as when we go to the green room and take another, wear another cloth and come out. Similarly, when death happens, the body is left by the Atma, and it goes to the higher dimensions, or to the God's abode, God's green room, and do the acquire a new physical body as per the requirement of the karmas or the purpose that we are working on, like looking forward to the experience that we are looking forward to. Accordingly, we'll find a physical body and get into it. So that is said here, Jaranani Vasamasi Vihaya. A person throws away the dress which are worn out. Jiranani Vasamasi, worn. So the person gives up the worn out clothes. Why? Because it is no more can serve the purpose. And similarly, it finds the new purpose and get the new body, and comes again to the world. That is called Anyani Samayati. We use physical body for different purposes, like, for the society, for our relationship, and for the different purposes. And once the purpose is over, we leave the body and change into another body, again with the new purpose and new experiences. So, this is one analogy that he has explained as Jananam, rebirth, and the death cycle, which will keep going on and on. Now we can understand the same analogy from Tattva Bodha perspective, as we all have studied Tattva Bodha already. For people who have not studied that, for them, I think last session also, Bidhan explained a little bit about that we have Sthula Sarira, Sukshma Sarira, Karana Sarira, and then Atma. These are the 4 things which we are of. So Sthula Sarira, we all understand that this is the gross body that we identify usually ourselves with, that this is me, this gross body which we can feel, touch, and see. That is Sthula Sarira. Sukshma Sarira is the subtle body, that is your mind, intellect, the vasanas. And then we have Karana Sharira and Atman. I'll not explain everything because that will take a lot of time. But just to understand this, we'll understand. So what happens when a person dies is the Sthula Sharira dies. Like, but Sukshma Sharira and your Karana Sharira and Atman exist. That is, this Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, and Atman is something which is going to the another body. That is the body equivalent which is changing cloth. So the cloth equivalent is my Sthula Sharira, and Sukshma Sharira is what is going and changing that body. Right? I hope you're able to understand. Maybe if you're not able to understand, after the session you can ask me. So yeah, so now we understand that the after death, Sthula Sharira dies, that is gross body will be left out, and it will move, the Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira along with Atma will move into securing a new Sthula Sharira for new karmas and vasanas to, a new experience to live in the next life, in the next body. So, so what is Sukshma Sharira that we need to understand here? Most importantly, we understood the Sthula Sharira, that is the gross body, which is going to die. But what is changing the, actually that Sthula Sharira is the Sukshma Sharira. So what is Sukshma Sharira? So it is the subtle form of our make. So our mind, we can say that our mind is the Sukshma Sharira. So why it is subtle, why we call it a subtle body? Because, the mind is something like your thought process, you cannot identify with your eyes or hand or something. It's a subtler form. Your vasanas are, it is not visible, but it exists. Like you can feel it. It's a feeling. So it's a perceptive feeling. It is a non-perceptive feeling. You cannot perceive with your sense organ, but it exists. We can say, like, you have to have a mind. If you say you don't see your mind, to know that you can't see your mind, is you have to use your mind to say that, okay, fine, I don't have a mind. or I have a mind. So that thought process is something which is a subtle body of our making. So, Sukshma Sharira is consist of the mind prana, which is who is a traveler, that is traveling from traveling to find a new body from the older body. So and then comes the play of Karana Sharira, the law of, so who gets what, where it moves, is, that whole analogy is that, there is a law of karma, and there is punyam and papam. According to that, you get, like, different, you reach a different realm, and you get the next body to experience. So it all happens, there is nothing random, it is all very defined. That is called law of karma. I think that will come later to understand further on the law of karma, but this is just the gist of it so that we understand. So there is one more point of view here, that how do we identify Sukshma Sharira? So we all, I think somewhere in some of the past sessions, we understood the concept of space, the pot and the space. Like, if a pot is there in a space, and the next moment you break it, then, the space which was acquired by the pot will exist, even if the pot is there or not there. Similarly, this Atman is also there, like it is all pervasive. It's not going anywhere. So it exists. It's just that our mind and body is not able to identify it through our limited sensory capabilities. As in the clothing changing analogy also, we saw that the person is going to the green room to change the clothes. Similarly, here also the Atman is there, but inside the green room, what is happening, that we cannot perceive from our the limited understanding of the sense organs. So the Atma is ever pervading, all pervading, and it exists even if the body is not there. But because of the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira, the karmas that we have created and the vasanas that we had from our lifetime, that will go on and find a new body and come back to resolve those karma and have new experiences. So this is what this verse is saying, that Atma is something that is all pervading and it never dies. So the vasanas and the thought process and the mind, it is always going to be there. It's only the body which is dying. So basically, he is trying to explain Arjuna that what you're thinking is the ultimate death and they are not going to be there with you is not how exactly it is happening. You are not losing anything, basically. What is there is there. Yeah, so this is it from my side. I hope you all understood. If there's anything you can ask me.
Thank you, Varsha. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So wonderful presentation today. We just thought that we should quickly come back to this. We'd like to have at least 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A right now. So if most of you can switch on your videos, it will be very nice. so that we can discuss few things now. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. That's why I'm not able to switch on my video.
No
So
problem.
excuse me for just today.
Okay. Few things over here, just to get a gist of it, and I love the analogy which Radhima gave. It was very, very interesting, where she said that something which is subtler cannot be affected by something which is grosser. So the gross body cannot affect the subtle body cannot affect the causal body cannot affect the Atman. And that's pretty good. But okay, coming back to the point here, and this is a question to all of you. On one hand, Shri Krishna is saying that the Atman is achalam, which cannot move. Right? It is sarvavapi, it is all pervading. Then how does Atma move from one body to another? Because this is what we kind of feel, right? That the Atman, the soul, or whatever we call it, leaves out the old clothes and take a new cloth, leaves the old body, takes a new body. How do we reconcile with that? Open to each one of you.
Well, I think as Varsha said, it's about the Jivatma. It's the vasanas which move, not the Atma per se, which is the Sukshma Sharir and the Karan Sharir. So it's
Right. That's a nice perspective, Devesh. What Devesh is saying, maybe it's not Atman, but it is basically your Sukshma Sharira, your subtle body that kind of moves from one body to another. And that subtle body is sometimes referred to as Jivatma. Any other perspective that we have? All right. So there are two ways by which we can reconcile this point. That on one hand, you're saying that consciousness or the Atman is all pervading, and it is achalam, it is beyond time. So of course, the movement is not possible. The movement happens in space and time. Then how do we say that it moves from one body to another? So one way to reconcile with it is that Atma doesn't move. What moves is your Sukshma Sharira. And that's what we have learned in Tattva Bodha also, in this subtle body that moves from one body to another. The second way to look at figuratively is that if you see the bubble moving, it feels as if the space is moving along with it. Isn't it? When you see the bubble moving, it seems as if the space is moving along with it. But the fact of the matter is space does not move. But somewhere we kind of call the space inside the bubble as a bubble space and space outside the bubble as a space. So sometimes in the normal parlance, what we do is that the consciousness which is inside the body, we kind of call it Jivatma, and the consciousness that pervades everywhere else, we kind of call it Paramatma. Right? So it feels as if the Jivatma is moving from one body to another, just as it feels that the space is trapped inside the bubble and space moves along with the bubble. It kind of feels so that the Jivatma is trapped inside the body and it moves so. It's just a nomenclature. And the idea of Tattvamasi is I am that simply means to say that Jivatma and Paramatma is one and the same. Right? That's the larger meaning. So that is how we need to reconcile this two statements, because we kind of always say that Atma moves from one body to another, and that's what has been told to all of us. Does it make sense? There is a third answer to this, which is coming from another concept called Pratibimba Vada. So there is a school of thought, and they talk about something called reflected consciousness. Right? They also talk about something called Chidabhasa, which they say that the subtle body has the ability to reflect the consciousness, just as, say, a mirror has the ability to reflect the sunlight. And to a child, it feels as if the light is coming from inside the mirror. And therefore, the mirror has the ability to lit up the room. Similarly, the subtle body, which is our Sukshma Sharira, has the ability to reflect or to express the consciousness. And when the subtle body moves from one body to another, it feels as if consciousness is moving from one body to another. Just like if the mirror moves, it feels as if the sun is moving along with the mirror. But it's not the sun that is moving along with the mirror. It is the reflection of the sun that is moving along with the mirror. And therefore, the reflection or the expression of consciousness within the subtle body feels as if that the Atma is moving from one body to another. So there are various ways in our scriptures, they have explained this concept that this is one Brahman, one is a wrong word. There's only Brahman, there is only consciousness, there is only Atman. You do not have an Atman separate from me, but we sort of in normal parlance do say that Atma moves from one body to another, but its Atma in its truest essence cannot move. So is this okay for all of you to kind of reconcile? Because this is something that we need to reconcile going forward as well. And in our presentations also, we'll try and make sure that we don't use the word soul. And I think we all will work to make sure that we also don't give you a presentation where the word soul is also mentioned, because it kind of creates a little bit of a confusion. So that's the first part. The second part, which is a very important part, which they're trying to tell, is that why you cannot interact or cut or kill Atma. Right? So very nicely, it was explained by Ridhima that something grosser cannot affect the subtler. Suppose the fire can burn everything apart from the space because its space is very subtle. And your body cannot affect the mind because mind is subtler than the body. And your mind cannot affect the subconscious because that's more subtler. Now, and therefore, none of them can affect the Atma because Atma is the subtlest. So that is one way of understanding this, that there's something gross, subtle, subtler, and subtlest. And therefore, in the order, one cannot affect other. The other way that it is also explained is that Atman or Brahman is a different order of reality. So just to say that if you basically see a rope and by mistake you end up seeing a snake, the snake cannot bite you because there is no snake. The rope can affect you because you and the rope are of the same order of reality, but the snake is of a different order of reality. Snake is just an appearance, so snake cannot affect you, right? Similarly, for example, if you are in a dream and you are being chased by a tiger, the dream tiger cannot affect you in reality. So there are two different orders of reality. Right? They clearly call out what are those orders. So Atman is of a different level reality, whereas the current things that we are experiencing, this is a different level of reality. Just as in a dream, elephant cannot affect me, similarly, nothing can affect Atman, and therefore you need to be fine with the idea that Atman is beyond anything. It cannot be killed. That's another way to kind of say it. And the third way to say is that even if you're killing the body, even the subtle body, the Sukshma Sharira, is also not getting killed. That also moves from one body to another. So what is getting killed is merely your physical body. And that's in essence that they are trying to say. Is this okay for all of us? Any questions on this? Any thoughts that comes to any one of you? Very silent.
That was very interesting perspective, Vedant, that even though we say that all the elements is subtler than and then the rest, but there's that's all the things which we perceive are actually probably not there.
I think we lost your voice. We're not able to clearly hear you, Devesh.
Yeah, I think it would be better now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that was very interesting perspective that whatever we say that the subtle cannot impact the sthul,
Yeah.
but in reality, there's even the subtle things don't exist. It's just the perception. It's just the reflected consciousness which we see manifesting in different forms, but it's not there actually. So if it's not there, how can it affect?
Yeah, if it is not there, how can it affect? Absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting.
Perfect. If there are no further questions, then we will try and answer Manju Daga, who asked very interesting question, if she's still there. And interesting concepts came out from everyone, including Ajit, Kiran. Each one of you came out with beautiful analogies. Manju, you're there? Okay, Manju's there. So the question that she asked, that if there is one consciousness all pervading. Okay, now what is it here is 8:30 right now. We'll just do the prayers. And those who want to stay back to just listen to what answer Manju has, then we can stay back. And all those who want to leave can always do that. Right? We'll just do the prayer so that we don't hold on to everyone for this. Basically, the question which Manju has asked is that if there's one consciousness, then how can't I know what is happening in someone else's mind? Because I should be able to know it, since one consciousness is only one. So it's a very interesting question. We should be discussing that right now. But for right now, we'll just do the prayers first.
Om Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much. So here we go. And let's understand this. It's a very subtle one. And so when we are saying that knowing, how does the knowing happen? Let's understand that first. What is the instrument of knowledge? Suppose you are listening to me right now, right? So from where are you listening from? From your sense organs, which is your ears, right? From ears, where is the data going to? Data is going to your brain, correct? In brain, which is the one which is, brain is still your hardware. It is still your sthula sharira. But your mind is the one which integrates the data, which puts the data together, correct? So the instrument of knowledge is your mind. And who is the witness of that mind? The witness of the mind is you, the consciousness. So you are witnessing the mind here and now, this mind, the mind in which the question is arising. So the question, when the question arises that why cannot I witness someone else's mind, that question is arising also in this mind, isn't it? So this is one mind, this is one place, and the consciousness is basically experiencing this. This is the locus of experience. There are multiple locus of experience, there are multiple minds, and there is a locus of experience everywhere. If you need to know what is happening in someone else's mind, in this locus of experience, in one locus of experience, then what needs to expand is your mind. Because it is from your mind you capture the data, right? So your mind needs to expand. If you want to know, if Vidhan wants to know what is happening in Anand's mind, then Vidhan mind should be able to expand to an extent that it kind of connects with Anand's mind. And then the integration happens. Then this locus of experience, which is Vidhan, will know what is happening with Anand. Because the experience happens only through the mind. So it's like this, if the same electricity powers all the computers, does not mean the data of one computer will be known to another computer just because it is the same electricity which is passing through all the computers, right? For data to be exchanged between two computers, you need to have a separate connectivity, which is your software should integrate. Your mind, your software should integrate. But just because you're powered by the same electricity does not mean that the data will get transferred. Because there is one locus of experience, electricity, another locus of experience. While electricity is one of the same, there are multiple locus of experience. That is a very simpler way of understanding. There are multiple levels at which the understanding can be done. The second level of understanding that if you want to have is from the perspective of the feeling of self itself is illusion, that it is me, I, and we have done in Tattva Bodha, right? That there is a experience of I and there is an experience of other than I. The I itself is also a experience, that I am experiencing this body and mind. So that I itself is a part of the experience. The I thought is a part of your experience. I thought and the other thought. But that will be getting further into understanding that if you move this I thought, then there is no locus of experience on the first place then. That ahamkara, that part of your mind kind of creates that locus of experience. So that is basically to give in a very simplistic manner to Manju's question that why, even if there is one consciousness, why cannot I experience everything happening? Simply because the experience happens through the mind and there are multiple minds and each mind has a locus of experience, just as each software has its own locus of experience through electricity. Just because it's the same electricity, the data will not necessarily get transferred. Manju, does it help you answer a little bit?
Yes, Vedant, thank you so much. Actually, I just want to say, what Ajit said that day, wrote that day about that Pramata and Sakshi thing. I could really understand what he was saying because Pramata is something which is consciousness plus mind. So the knower of one body is different from the knower of another body.
Correct.
That is what Ajit was also saying that day.
Same thing.
But you told if you expand your mind, you will be able to read what others have in their mind. So is it possible anyway?
Oh yeah, why not? There are people who are in a position to do that. I mean, it happens through meditation. You will be in. So it's your pramata is basically what he said is right, that there is a mind and the consciousness. It becomes one entity, isn't it? And that's what I'm talking about, the locus of experience.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, the locus of experience. There are multiple locus of experiences. So that.
What exactly is locus?
Sorry?
How will you define locus? What is locus?
So locus is a point, a particular point of experience. Say, for example, when you're talking about pramata, right? When the mind, when the consciousness is experiencing the mind, right? That is a locus.
Okay.
Right? It's like a space. So in this space, there are multiple locus of experience. And the space is the experience. And that locus of experience gives you a feeling of pramata. That's the feeling of self.
Okay. So you can just go beyond this mind and experience beyond your mind. Like you can.
For that, your mind has to expand. The mind has to expand.
And how can you expand your mind?
That's a very different.
Okay.
That's a very different subject in itself, which in terms of how do you expand your perception? How do you expand what is going beyond your physical reality? How do you read someone else's mind? Isn't it? So that's a different, but yeah, there is a possibility.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to add here something. When we were studying Tattva Bodha, that time also we understood how, the Big Bang theory and this how we came into existence from that Om that we came into existence. And so from that concept, we are all one, as the consciousness is also one. In the current reality, if you see, I'll give you a small example of a mother and child. So we all might have experienced at some point of time, we are going through some crisis. Even if I am far away from my mother, she would just call and check, okay, is everything all right and what is going on and all. So a mother knows, even if I'm not talking to her, or just by looking at me, or just by being there. So the connection is so, because it is the connection between a mother and the kid is very new, whereas we have forgotten that connection uh, from the true consciousness. So that's where we are not able to connect with each other's mind per se. But yes, as Vidhan was saying, that there are people who can do that through coming to activating that locus and coming to that centeredness, and can do that. In fact, there is a very good series on Netflix. It's called Sense 8, and it talks about this thing only. So there are, like, some 7 or 8 people in different parts of world, and they have got they can read, they can be in each other's mind. It's a beautiful series. I mean, it's a fiction, but it does talk about, like, the same thing and how it works. It's an interesting series. But yeah, yes,
Any more?
that's maybe I
Yeah, Bidan, just
the
to
telepathy is yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ajit.
Bidan, just to add, I think the context of that question was probably a little different. The context of that question which Manju asked was also related to somebody who is enlightened and somebody who is not. Now, enlightenment doesn't mean that you will be able to read all minds. So, being able to read certain minds or being able to having extra, telepathic powers and all that are still a limitation of this existing mind. We are using only certain parts of our intellect and mind, and that can expand. But I think the whole idea was that when you get enlightened, I think there's a very subtle point there which is basically can be misunderstood, that it doesn't mean that you are suddenly in a position where you can read all minds and understand all minds. I think that is very, very important to ascertain here, because otherwise there might be a misunderstanding here. The very aspect of being able to read all minds, if you take pure Vedanta, it is only an attribute of Ishvara, which is basically, and we have to be very, very clear from what perspective we are speaking. When we are speaking from a Paramarthika level, there is the witness. But when we are talking of minds, we always have to talk from a Vyavaharika level. And Vyavaharika level, it is only the Ishvara which has the capability, or God, which is basically Brahman plus Maya, which is able to read all minds. So I think that is something which is a very important point, I think.
That's absolutely right, Ajit. What we are talking from a Paramarthika level and we are talking from a Vyavaharika level, that's absolutely fine. So this is clear that just because someone is enlightened does not necessarily mean that one will be able to read all minds.
Exactly. I think, yeah,
That's
that's a very key point, which
so
probably
that's
Manju, you should also be. I think if that was there, because that example of that camera, wherein, when that whole thing is there, when you go and move out everything, you are able to see everything, will give us this thing that, when you move into an enlightenment state, you're able to see everything, all views of each camera, which is not the,
correct.
which is not the, there is a possibility of, so that's why that, it has to be very carefully handled there, that analogy.
Absolutely right, Ajit. No, that's correct. That one camera cannot. I mean, you can't have a multiple views of camera. So the only challenge that comes in the training that we do is that when we say the consciousness is all pervading and there is only consciousness, or there's only one consciousness, and the consciousness that shines within me and the consciousness that shines within you is one and the same, then why is it that I can't know what is happening within you? And that's where a lot of people end up asking that question.
Yeah, so I think there is a problem there. The problem is we are, I think problem is moving frames of reference. We cannot stand on a frame of reference of Paramarthika and ask a Vyavaharika question. I think that is the problem. I think this is a very, very important thing that, if we are asking this question of reading all minds is a Vyavaharika level question. And the answer ends at Ishvara, which is Bhagwan.
Hmm.
And if we have to move into a Paramarthika level, then what minds? There is nothing. It's all illusion. So
So
I think
never
that is
mind.
where the answer can be very clearly given. So we have to ask from what level are we asking the question. Then I think probably we'll be able to get an answer. From a Paramarthika level, the answer is there is nothing. It's all illusion. It's basically a it's unreal. But from a Vyavaharika level, it ends at Bhagwan, which is Ishvara.
Great.
Can I say something, Bidan?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just thinking aloud as everybody were discussing this. So from a human experience, okay, if we have to say, you were talking about expansion of mind. Now, many times, you know, our loved ones, they're going through something, and we are not able to expand and kind of connect with what they are experiencing. But maybe experientially, or like I said, I'm thinking aloud. The collapsing of I enables us to some extent to expand our mind and connect with our loved ones or whoever in our vicinity is going through something. So I'm just talking about a perspective. I don't know if I'm even thinking in the right direction. So when we say empathy is about stepping into another person's shoes. For us to step into another person's shoes, we have to remove our own shoes. So here in the context of human experience, maybe the collapsing of I is the removing of our shoes. That will kind of help us expand and connect, you know, with our loved ones. So is this, am I thinking in the right direction? Is this?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, collapsing of an I, which basically you're saying that I should not be there.
Yeah, if I'm able to think beyond myself, I will be able to connect to people around. You know, many a time what limits me from the expansion of my mind in a human experience, I'm not talking at level of God, but I'm talking not enlightenment either. So in my daily experience, okay, when I am trying to expand, many a times we are not able to. I want to understand my loved one. I want to know what my child or my partner is going through. But because of the presence of my I, it kind of limits me to exactly understand what they are. So the expansion of mind, maybe the I limits the expansion of mind, is what I'm thinking at this point in time, as we were discussing.
Maybe I don't have an answer to that right now, because even I is a part of mind. So maybe we'll take it up next time, Manju.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye. It was an amazing session. Thank you.
Thank you all.